co-director who's co-directing the film that we're working on right now. He was based out of Melbourne as well, so we were working like together face to face, like at the beginning of the film. But he's moved back to Hong Kong now, so we're kind of like doing like everything remote. So like I feel like I don't like Melbourne is just like a place, right? I feel like I could be based out of anywhere, just like the way we're working at the moment. It's so remote that it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, I love the city of Melbourne. It's like one of my favorite places on earth. So I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, I think.
I will agree. Melbourne is beautiful. It's actually the real capital of Australia, right? Not Sydney, which people get confused by. And Melbourne is just a trip, man. I lost a hula hoop contest there at this Moose Tracks like bar. I don't know if it still exists. Every time I ask people, they say it's still there, but I don't know. But it's like right down by the base of the Capitol building. But man, Australia, y'all, I love you guys. You guys, it's such a good time over there. Like I can skateboard, and the cops are just like, "Don't skate on that." Like everybody's just super chill. So some of the past collaborations that you've worked with in the Web3 space, one I mentioned was Crypto Bats. Obviously, I've said that like 3 times now. Fishy Fam, Clanosaurs, Fang Gang, Long Lost, Potheads, Cosmic Cat, Stacks, and Breadman. You mentioned Atrium, so like let's just get into this movie and nouns now. You're working with nouns.
Yeah, so man, I like when you list them out, I didn't know there was that many, but I stopped keeping track just because it feels like when you're collaborating with these projects, you're just working with people at the end of the day. So it just feels like I met a lot of cool people in the space. And sometimes I don't really think that, oh, these are like some of the projects are like actually really big now. Like Clanosaurs is like one of the biggest projects on Solana now, and they're doing really well. And the creatives there are just like amazing. But yeah, so like coming back to nouns, like it's super interesting how that whole thing came about. So Atrium's, like I mentioned, like they've been pushing really hard to like connect creators with people who need things created, or just like finding really interesting ways to like fun creators to like do really cool things. So one of the ideas that they had was like, hey, like we have this awesome like slate of creators. Why don't we try to like pitch to a DAO to like do a film? It started off small. So 3D Print Guy, who's one of the core team members of Atrium, he started it off like the whole thing off by just like pitching a small idea about like just a short, like a little fun little short about nouns, like built around the nouns IP, and it was really just like a character, doing some small things, and there's like a pigeon and whatnot involved. It's like a really fun little short. Highly recommend everybody to check it out. But yeah, it started off there, and from there, it was kind of like, okay, how do we make this bigger? How do we like scale it? How do we do something like really big? And that's when we kind of like landed on the idea, like let's try to make an entire film. Like, why don't we just make a whole movie? Which is crazy. Like I never thought I'd go from like like those like indie like Breaking Arms, like Vatican tape B grade horrors, all the way to like directing like my own film, which is kind of insane. Um, so we pitched the idea to make like the pilot for this film. It's 3.5 minutes, but it's shaping up to be like more like 4 minutes now. Um, but it's fully animated. It's built around like we did everything in 90 days. I think we pretty much just wrapped up like a day or two ago in terms of like the visuals. So yeah, we're kind of going through the story right now. I mean, we're going through the final sound, and then we're going through the story for the next iterations of the next 10 minutes. It's an entire film, so we're workshopping the whole film as we go. Everything's like super non-traditional, so there's so much to like dive into there. But yeah, that's a little bit about like what we're working on right now.
Oh my goodness! And when is this movie coming out?
So the pilot is actually coming out in a few days. So the 21st. So I guess like what is that? Like 5 days. 5-6 days, something
Whoa,
like
y'all
that.
hear that? 5 days. If you're listening back, 5 days. This movie quality is incredible. I wish you guys we could take a moment to all watch it all, but please watch it in your time afterwards. I don't want to ruin the audio. You know what I'm saying? Keep it vibe. And what do you mean? Let me pick your brain a little bit there. What you meant by non-traditional filmmaking? Can you like tell us a little about what's going on with this film that's not traditional?
Oh man, I would say almost everything about this whole film is non-traditional. Like from the ground up, like the way the timeline, first of all, is completely unheard of before. Like to make a 4-minute pilot in 90 days without having a script, without having character, having nothing, like a blank slate, from going from that to like the final product that we have right now, which is like a fully animated 4-minute, high quality, like really high quality, some of the best work I've done like in my entire career, if I'm honest. Um, in 90 days, like we have a composer composing original music for the entire film. It's amazing as well, like the what he's managed to come up with. Some of the best music I've heard in any animated like film ever. And like having like the talent on board, like we have like the voice actors, like we have like a 13-year-old kid who's just incredible, like at acting. I think that kid's gonna go places. And we have like some of like the best animators that I know like in the industry, and to like some of the like the strongest like sound people. Like we have someone who's on the sound team who's like an Emmy winner, which is crazy. So the fact that we managed to put this together in 90 days, that is, I don't think that's ever been heard of before, and I don't know if it's easily replicable unless you were in the Web3 space. So that's one thing, and then another thing is how the film is funded. So we, like we said, we proposed this to the DAO, the Nouns DAO, and they greenlit this thing like the pilot, and um, to basically get funded to make something like this in traditional media, it's near impossible. I mean, anyone that's tried to make any sort of film, animated or not, just pitching to streaming service like Netflix or like Crunchyroll or Amazon, I don't think you can get it through to the execs. Like, first of all, there's no like mailbox that you can just drop your pitch. You have to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. And then they have to be willing to look at it, and they've got like a million people pitching to them. So things get shot down. Even things that are like home runs get shot down. So the fact that we could sidestep all that, pitch to the DAO, we had a really strong pitch, and I think it really helped as well that we had like a writer already attached to the show. We've already done stuff in the space beforehand, so and Atrium's got a good track record of like creating high quality content. So it was sort of a home run of the pitch to the DAO, and here we are now, just like 90 days later, having finished, having like actually fulfilled the obligation of the pitch, having something really high quality. Yeah, it's so out there, it's so non-traditional. I think that there's so many more things to like the fact that we're working completely remote, and like with people all over the world. Like some people aren't even part of like the CG industry. They're just like hobbyists who are really talented, really good, who work really quick. Like Batmax is a great example. He's been making NFT art in the space, and he just sort of we kind of connected through Atrium because he's one of the artists at Atrium, and we're just like blown away by his quality of work. And we said, hey, do you want to come on the film and work on this? Like that is so non-traditional as well. The fact that Nouns is CC0, so it's there's no copyright, like in the same sense as like the like traditional IP. It's completely open so that anybody can make anything with Nouns. It's like permissionless. So I think that, yeah, there's so many things. There's probably a million more things that I'm missing, but I can go on for days.
No, I love that about you, and that's why we wanted you on this show. And I said, please take your time because a lot of these spaces sometimes feel like an elevator pitch. Like this is episode 35. I still get nervous when I'm up here on stage. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. A lot of things to cover there. So in 5 days, how can I see this film? Like, how do I get access to see it?
Yeah, so like if you follow Noun's movie and just keep updated with their posts, you'll definitely see where the links are posted. So I would say that's definitely the one to follow. You can follow myself. I'll obviously be tweeting it out as we go. And yeah, like you'll find out first on Twitter, that's for sure. So and yeah, we'll probably like be posting it everywhere, like just like all different platforms and whatnot, trying to get it out to as many people as we can. And this is not like you don't have to like it's not gated or anything like that. You don't have to like pay to like watch it or anything like that. We want as many people to see this as possible, and it's purely for your enjoyment. So this is not like, hey, give us your money type thing. We're just really excited. Like everyone's put in so much hard work to make something that everyone can just enjoy. So we just want to get the word out. And yes, like totally apologize if I sound like super pitchy or anything like that. But we don't want anything other than you guys to have a good time when you're watching it. That's all.
Oh my gosh, hold on. You don't sound pitchy at all, everybody. I need to, y'all know I'm fucking detail oriented on this show. And one thing that I missed out big time was Atrium. Atrium. He keeps talking about Atrium. I didn't tag Atrium one time. I didn't look at the Twitter until literally like 3 minutes ago. So let's break down Atrium for us, please.
Yeah, so Atrium at the moment is a platform where you can go on and you can find artists, you can find people who are willing to like work on a production with you, whether it's like a large scale or small scale. They're really just a platform to help connect creators with people who want to create things like producers and people who are willing to like just put the money where the mouth is and just say like, hey, I want to make this and I have an entire business model planned around this. I want to produce a music video. I want to produce like an ad. I want to produce something using my NFT characters, or it could just be in the NFT space about like a Web3 app or something like that. So it's just a great way for like people who are creating to connect. And they have so many big plans of like different things that we're trying to do. And I mean, Noun's like movie is one of them. It's not like really for like anyone really. It's just like for the public, right? Like the Nouns movie's there for everyone to enjoy. So there's it's not all like business like that. It's really just like creating really cool stuff. I think that's at its core. That's what Atrium's trying to do. They just want to like kind of give creators an actual platform to sustain themselves, which I love. That's why I feel like it was such a good match for myself and them to kind of collaborate together.
This is so cool. Oh my gosh, I'm so pumped. I love it that we do these spaces, Jay, because every time we do these spaces, we open 1,000 more doors. Seriously, don't be scared, y'all, to come out your house. Get out the house, get in the streets. Like, what? Like, here, I'll pitch myself. I'd love to be a voice actor. Like, cause like I'd love to cut down all the because I ask people about it and they're like, well, you gotta go to acting school and you gotta go all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm a little off the cuff. Like I'm dyslexic, I've got ADHD. Like sometimes like the topics come up. Like I want to cut through this red tape with you, Zen. So let me just, pitch myself there. If y'all need any voice acting, plus like, I mean, I'm tight with the clone community. We have all these incredible digital assets. I don't see why we can't collaborate, together. Obviously, we'll watch out for that IP. But one thing that my beautiful co-host told me before I got my clone, and she said, you make sure when you get a clone that no matter what you do to it, it's always going to look like a clone. You're always going to recognize it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was watching something about religion yesterday, and the Mary, Saint Mary, like she's always appearing right in like toast, in like rainbows, right? And like you can't like it's just something people correlate, and you can do that yourself. And like, wow, if you're out there, if you're in the movie film industry, if you need to get dusted off, yo, hit Zen up in the DMs, please, This 26 minutes, this first 30 minutes has gone by crazy. We got 4 more minutes before people want to come up and speak. But please, if you want to request up to speak, if you want to throw some flowers, ask some questions, maybe some hard-hitting questions. I'm usually pretty nice to my guests, right? So if y'all want to ask questions, throw some flowers. Please start requesting up, and I'll start taking those questions as I go. But I got 1,000 more questions, okay? What you're co-directing this. How does that look like? Are you picking characters? Or are you doing the backgrounds? Like how many hats are you currently wearing while doing this film?
Yeah, so we're running like a really small, nimble micro team, is what I would say. It's almost like a micro studio, in a sense, and that's how we're able to like get things done so quickly. So everybody in the team is wearing like all the hats. My co-director is sort of dealing a little bit more with the animation side of things, so like the movement, the performance of the characters. I'm dealing a little bit more with the art direction, so I'm dealing more with the colors, the look of the show, the rendering. But I'm doing everything from like writing, code, like writing Python scripts to button up our pipeline, all the way to doing like project management and scheduling and timeline and hiring. We were definitely like wearing all the hats I get, and it's pretty crazy. Like it's a pretty crazy pace. I mean, given the fact that it's only 90 days to do something like this, so there's no other way to do it other than to wear all the hats. But yeah, so we have like some really strong sound people, like I mentioned. So our composer is just like phenomenal. He's just an insane talent, and we're so lucky to have him, as well as like the sound people like for Foley and whatnot, and sound design. So a lot of the sound stuff we've just been like giving full creative control to them, and just giving like minor like notes here and there. But really, it's a collaboration. So we don't want to tell people like this is how it has to be exactly. We wanted to give people as much creative freedom as possible, so that they can enjoy the filmmaking process along with us. And it's not we're not trying to emulate what we did when we were in the studio. That's the reason why we left. We didn't want that environment. So we wanted everyone to feel open and free and creative. So in a sense, it feels much more like a collaboration, like a group of friends coming together to start a band and just make cool music in a garage. But yeah, and we want to try to scale that feeling so that as we get bigger, we don't lose that essence, and it feels very Web3. It feels like borderless and permissionless and creative and open, and that's kind of, yeah, that's why we're doing this. And I just want to give a shout out, by the way, to Anaroth, who's in the crowd. He's actually one of the core people from Atrium, one of the most eloquently spoken people that I know, and just amazing insight into just the whole process, as well. And he'll probably have a lot of insight as well. If I don't know if he's down to come chat, but I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, Anaroth. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a shout out because I love the guy. He's awesome.
Shout out Anaroth. Yo, I feel that. Like I used to request people to come up. Anybody can come up. No pressure, right? Like I'm not here to just like grab people's content, grab people's questions. Like, but we're having a really great conversation up here. And if you want to come up and talk about it, it's really incredible. And with that, Anaroth is coming on up, and we love that. Hello, Anaroth. Thank you for joining. And Azuki, we love the Azukis, by the way. CloneX NYC is tight with the the Azuki NYCs and the Big Apple Ape community. And they've led us to a lot of other opportunities and collaborations. And I just have to say that because it's important. I don't get stuck just behind one PFP and one echo chamber, right? Even though I love it. I'm a diehard clone. Don't come at me. But, it's important to branch out. With that, Anaroth, how are you?
Bro, I'm walking home as fast as I can so I can not be in, like, the wind tunnel that is Orlando, Florida right now. Zen's, like, the most humble person. I swear to God. He needs to brag about himself so much more. He's incredible. And, like, I hope you get, like, the genuine sentiment when you hear him talk on this space so far. it's not just like the opportunity for him to put on a director hat for the first time, but this guy is out there saying like, nah, it's not just about me and my co-director. I want to give the experience that I wish I had to everyone else while I was doing the stuff that I was doing, like working through the process. And I think that's the part about Web3 that I love so much, is there's this, as cars go by, it's like the worst thing to quote ever, I swear. Uh, it's it's the opportunity of possibility that exists here, where you can just find the most passionate people, and they're like, "Yo, yes, I want to participate. I want to make this the best version it can be." And then you have DAOs like DAOs that are like, "Hell yes, I want to fund that idea. Why wouldn't I?" And the thing that makes me so excited for people like Zen is, yes, we want to make this content so people can enjoy it. But what people will remember about this era of Web3 is the content that gets created. And to be able to be a part of that in such a nascent stage, like, I'm so happy he has that opportunity. Like, so happy, because he deserves it 100%.
Thank you so much, Anarov, man. You you speak so highly of me. I feel like sometimes you make me feel like I'm like way better than I deserve to be, but I really appreciate it, man. Like all you've done in the space as well, just like highlighting artists and just really getting people's names out there and really helping artists like shine as well. I think that's super commendable. And yeah, like I not to just sound like all like roses and everything. I mean, it is like a pretty fast paced space where like one day things are great and the next day like everything's falling down. It's like a little bit of a house of cards at times, but to have people like you who are around all the time, just continually building and continually just like supporting people, I think that's how we kind of get through the bad times as well. So um I really appreciate like yeah everything that like you've been doing in the space. And you guys too. I mean, Boo and Jay, just having like people like you guys to keep like things moving and keep things going. I feel like it's so important. And yeah, like so happy to be here as well. I feel so grateful to have this opportunity, just to even talk about like my work. That's not something that's happened in the past. When you're working in a studio, you're just literally a cog in the machine. And for an artist, that's kind of like it feels like a death sentence almost, because like your art is really not your art at the end of the day. It's just a corporation, like a literal corporation. Like it's like Disney's work, and they care very little about the guy at the bottom who's making the thing. So yeah, it's the totally opposite thing here.
Thank you, Anaroth, for coming up. You're a vibe, and you sounded good. I felt like I was right there with you on the streets of Orlando, and I'm glad you're using the crosswalk and being safe. I didn't know you were in. I've never met you before. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna hop in your DMs. I want to talk to you. I want to talk about Atrium. I always want to expand out. I want to get to know people more. Thank you, Zen, for connecting us right on this space. We love that. And if anybody else wants to come up and speak, ask questions, now's your time. And I'll just keep talking. I'll burn these ears off. So one thing that I've got to ask is, like, when you're doing this, you're very creative, but there's also a lot of technical stuff that goes into this. Have you found that you're like, oh, wait, I can't necessarily do this creative thing because of the technical stuff? Like how we were talking before we got on the stream, right? Jay's upstairs. She's got 6 screens, right? And we're doing it because we like being those renegade cowboys. Have you found that while you've been working with this film?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely limitations when you're working on something on this scale. Like we're trying to make something way bigger scope than what the budget affords, than what the time affords. But I think that's kind of forced us into being innovative in our own way. Like we've had to find new workflows. We have to find new technologies. We had to build the style of the film around the fact that we have limited resources. So if you look at the movie itself, it doesn't look like a 3D film. It looks somewhere in between. It looks kind of a little bit like, I mean, I hate to use Spider-Verse as an example because they're just like one of the, yeah, it's just one of the coolest films out there stylistically. But we took a lot of inspiration from like things like Spider-Verse, from things like Borderlands, from things that didn't feel like 3D. We wanted to make it just about the characters, about the style, about the art. So when you look at the film, yeah, it's kind of this weird blend, and that was um, also a decision we made financially and economically. So to make an entire film, there's so many 3D assets that you need to build. So what we've been doing a lot is we've been like finding assets that fit the style of the film that have been made already, and we've been purchasing it, and we've been using what we call like the nouns filter, the nouns movie filter, and it kind of runs it through this effect that makes it feel like it's integrated in this world without having to retexture the assets, without having to remodel things. It kind of just like it's a really efficient way to like incorporate assets that have been made into the same style. So that's one avenue in which we've had to innovate. And I think it looks pretty like stylized compared to a lot of stuff out there, and we're really happy with the final look. Um, as well as like just working remotely, how do we communicate? How do we give feedback to artists? How do we kind of give strong direction to the film? And we've been using things like Figma, like heavily in order to like brainstorm to like, yeah, we've been posting like a lot of images on Figma. We've also been using like AI and stuff like that. We've been looking at all types of things. So like I use AI on the daily now in every facet of production. So like if I run against some technical problem with Unreal Engine, for example, I'm able to ask ChatGPT like, hey, I need, we have tech people in the industry like TDs, uh, but we don't have that luxury here. We don't have these tech people to ask for help. Like, hey, I'm stuck on this one thing. I don't know how to get across this hurdle. ChatGPT is my TD, is my technical director. I can ask ChatGPT, hey, what's going on with this thing? This button's not working. This thing's glitching out. How do I fix it? And it's phenomenal how much like knowledge it has around just these niche things. So it's been fundamental in that. We've been using AI to do a lot of brainstorming, like color palette and things like that. And we want to be really respectful as well to the artists. We don't want to just like make something and steal it in that sense, because I know it's like a huge debate amongst artists, like whether AI is good or bad. And we're trying to use AI for all the things that we feel like is still respectful to the craft of like filmmaking, of art and whatnot. So we have concept artists still doing designs for characters because we want their eye, we want their design aesthetic. We're not trying to like steal their work. We want them to shine in their own style. But where AI is good is to help brainstorm ideas. It's like, hey, what if this color palette versus this color palette, and what if we use it for some like background um, like ideas, like what could we put in the background? So we used it a lot for that. We used it for things that like artists wouldn't really care so much about. So we incorporated actual AI images into the film itself. So we generated some AI images to put on like kids drawings, for example. So we needed kids drawings in Guy, who's our main character. He has his little bedroom, and we wanted to put things in there that Guy would want in his bedroom. So he's got drawings of like some of the characters in the film, and we use AI to generate these kids drawings. It felt like kind of unfair to ask like a concept artist, like, can you like make your art look crap so we can put it on the wall? So like things like that. We had some Rorschach test images that we needed, like with the, like, is this a butterfly? Is this a, is this a cup or whatever? So we generated the Rorschach test images using like Midjourney. So we're really trying to think of creative ways to use AI that doesn't really like shit on actual artists, because I know like people are really they love the craft, and we don't want to take that away from artists as well. So we're trying to be super efficient but super respectful in that regards.
Wow, that was so much, man. That's so much to clip there, Zen. That was like alpha. Like you got me thinking here. Instead of like going to Google now, I should literally just go to Chat GBT and like I don't know, maybe I'll start going to Chat GBT now more than YouTube. And if Chat GBT could become the YouTube, that's game over, like, because I'm a visual learner and I need that. Like, I mean, when the truck breaks down, I'm on YouTube, I'm under the truck, I'm like 6 videos later until it's like, oh, here's a video that actually pays off. Anaroth, what do you got to add? What do you got to ask?
I think the really important part that stands out around like the thing that like made me raise my hand about Zen is this idea of like I'm just gonna go figure it out. Like I feel like the biggest concentration of I'm just gonna go figure it out people exist here, and it's like this subtle quality that's really hard to quantify, but you recognize it by the fact that like they don't ask you other questions; they just come up with an answer. And to have someone like Zen, who's able to do all like crazy animation and technical things he already can do, but then to feel empowered and inspired to be like, nah, I can do this. Like we can change a bigger paradigm. And like that's the bigger issue here, right? Like Tangled cost $260 million to make. 260 million. Do you know how many movies that we could make for $260 million and contribute to the culture of Web3? Like, think about what that changes to media as a whole. And that's one movie. What happens when all of the films that you create for the $260 million actually produce profit? How many more films do you get to create? What is the studio that emanates from that possibility? Atrium, by the way, that's us, 100%. Let's go. But like, that is the opportunity that I see that Zen is leading. And that's so much bigger than just on the surface. And what we're attracting in Atrium is everyone who sees that bigger vision. And it's really exciting.
Wow, like so what's your role at Atrium, if you don't mind me asking, Anaroth?
I'm sorry, you cut off a little bit. Do you say what is my
What
role?
what's your role over at Atrium, and how did you and Zen first link up?
So my role, like I'm using air quotes 100%, is head of community. But in the same way that like Zen saying he wears multiple hats, my title is not who I am. Like my job is to help people understand the opportunity in front of us. That's what I feel like my job is. If that means like business development, if that means spaces, if that means interviewing, if that means script reviewing, if it means whatever I need to do to help, I'm here for it because I believe in the bigger vision. So, like, title for me is irrelevant. Like, that's not why I'm here. I think values dictate a lot of what people choose to do, and purpose is a big part of my personal values. And to be able to bring a stage to creators, a stage to other people, and kind of hopefully have other people see them for the talent that they have. Sign me up, homie. Sign me up. I'm here all day. I'll brag, no problem.
I love that. You're humble too. Two humble people hanging out and collaborating. I love that, Anaroth. I'm glad you got home safe and you're out of the wind tunnel. JPEG J, did you have a question? Or are you still pinning stuff?
Yeah, I am so inspired in some ways when you guys are talking about how the talent pool of like troubleshooting, like creatives that like can solve problems are all in this space, right? But also the flakiest people are also in this space. Like, how do you guys deal with like time zones and people being like, I'll send this deliverable tomorrow, and then a week later you're like, where is that?
That's true. I mean, I guess we and I'm flaky myself, so like I'm no like I'm as culpable as anybody else. But not out of anything malicious or anything like that. Everybody's just so busy, and I feel like you just need to have a level of understanding that everybody's got 50 million things going on, and we're not here to hold people accountable in that sense. We just want to make cool things and do cool stuff. So if we feel like at any point that somebody's really just like completely flaking out on us, we'll just have to pivot. I think we just shoulder that burden ourselves. I mean, I don't think there's a better way to do it than to just say like, hey, look, I don't think this is happening. We need to move on. We need to continue production. It's always like, I mean, rather than dwelling on like those negatives, we think about like, okay, like what's the opportunity, but what's also like the positives. And I think the positives definitely outweigh those negatives. Like, you have to deal with one or two flaky people here and there, but at the end of the day, the rest of the 100 people that you're dealing with are just awesome people. So I think it's like totally a win in that regards. And there's flaky people in real life too, in trad media all over the place. So it's no different than anywhere else in the world, I think. So, yeah, I guess that's that.
I don't think the blockchain will solve flakiness, Jay. I don't think they got head and shoulders for the blockchain yet. Anaroth, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think like the flakiness piece, I don't even think flakiness is intentional half the time. I think some people just don't necessarily know what to say, and it takes a lot of courage to actually respond when you're like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So I think that's a big part of just flakiness in general. But like, listen, I was hella naive a year and a half ago. Like, I have dramatically learned to ask better questions to give me better answers so that I can make more informed decisions of where my time goes, right? And it doesn't mean that if someone answers a question wrong, air quotes, that they don't have value. It just might mean for what I'm looking for right now, and I think anyone should be recognizing that your time is valuable, and you should have intention behind where you spend it, and intention on how you ask questions from people to make sure you get the answers you really want, right? Because like, a question is a powerful thing. You ask a really good question, you not only get the answer you want, but you get the answer to the question you didn't even ask yet, which is the one you really wanted. And that's what you want to focus on, right? Like, that's the thing that I think we're trying to cultivate, and Zen's done a really good job explaining, is making people feel like they want to raise their hand with their idea to participate. That's not an easy thing to do, especially in a creative environment. What? Like, that's like, hey, I'm in my most vulnerable state. Let me just like go out and put my opinion out there. Hey, like, no, that's not how life works. To be in a place where you can try and show that there's a different way for you to want to create the way that you want to, and to have people like Zen and HK who are out there just like, yo, this is the way it could be. And that's what I hope we get to look back on, right? When I like the people that are actually creating the content that we're in right now. And like, people talk a lot about culture in Web3, but to me, content is culture. Like, you look at our GIFs, you look at all of our media, what we use here, it's older content that's repurposed in current trend. So what do you think is going to happen when the people who actually create content in Web3 is then memeable content in the years that follow that creates the proliferation that Nouns is based upon? That's fucking brilliant. Like, brilliant in my mind. And like, the reason I want to try and shout this stuff from the rooftops is I think there's more opportunities for other projects, other groups of people, as Zen kind of mentioned earlier in this space. If you want to get together with some friends and create like a really, yes, I want to empower your creativity. And in an idea economy that we're approaching right now, creativity is going to change in the way that we think about it. Like, it's different. It's different, and it's going to allow people like Zen to like elevate to this entirely new level. And there's people like me, like the pleb, who's just like, yo, I feel like I'm kind of good now, and that's awesome. And that's going to be incredible. Like, I can't wait for that moment. It's going to be so cool. And that's what I want to support, right? Like, that's what we should be excited about.
Yo, you're so well spoken. And honestly, what's so cool right now is that we're hitting the emojis in the chat on Twitter Spaces, and we're freaking out with our faces on the video live stream. And like, you can't hide that. It's genuine. We're just sitting here like, we're not rolling our eyes. We're like totally vibing with what you're saying, my friend. Wow. Like, Anaroth, I'm sliding in your DMs like tomorrow. Give me some time to sleep, and I definitely listen back to all my spaces to see how we can improve. But man, I'm coming in your DMs quick. I want to ask one more serious question. I got 8 more minutes. So if anybody else wants to come up, ask questions, throw flowers, maybe, get an opportunity up here with, my boy Ken. I mean, Zen. Sorry, I'm calling you Ken. I'm calling you nicknames because I'm getting so comfortable. Oh, my goodness. I don't even know a Ken lately, But anyway, I ask everybody this: if there's something that you could like improve or change upon the space, one thing that could help, change the UI of the space to improve upon it, what would it be, Zen?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. I mean, everything is pretty buttoned up at this point. I mean, I'd really need to like think hard in order to give a decent suggestion. I love the setup at the moment. Like honestly, with the live stream, being able to pull the videos up, and like you guys having like the fun little filters, and even the graphics and the banner at the bottom. I mean, this is like as legit of a live stream as I've as I've ever been on.
Oh my goodness. I think you misunderstood my question, my friend. I wasn't asking about us. I was asking it as the space as a whole, like Web3, like, when you were first coming in the space, like Web3 or making this movie, like today, like if there's something you could change or improve upon, like, whether it be logging into your OpenSea, something like that. I appreciate all the flowers, though.
My bad, man. Yeah, I mean, the space in general, I feel like there's one thing that's really good about traditional media, and it's not all bad in traditional media. I just want to like throw it out there. Like, there's things that are really good there too, and there's really good people. But I think one thing that's really good about like trad media is because it's been around for so long, you have so many people who have just amazing connections with other creatives. And I feel like that's something that we can definitely foster more in the space, is like connecting with other creators, being there to help each other out. Like, hey, I need a sound guy. Do you know somebody? It's kind of like, if you're in like trad media and like Spielberg, he's probably like the most secret weapon that anyone could have on any production, right? Because he probably knows everybody. He knows everything about filmmaking. He has such a good eye. Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of people that we need to kind of like have in the space, but also just like foster people to grow into that kind of Spielberg role, someone who is just there to help support other filmmakers and connect other people, and not to gatekeep as well, like, just really there to elevate everyone in the space. And I feel like right now we're all just a bunch of headless chickens running around trying to like do things right. But I think when the space really starts to come together, and we're seeing it already, so I think we're on that right track. But like, the more we can do it, the better. So if you guys are creators and you're out there and you want to link up, 100%, slide in my DMs. I'd love to like talk about like creative things. I'm like a huge movie nerd, gaming nerd, whatever, you name it. So that's probably the way to go, I think, like to move the space forward in terms of like filmmaking, at least.
All right, we're going to do something here fun for the last 5 minutes, okay? We're going to do some quick fire questions. So just be a little like I've heard this before. It's a little cheesy. I'm going to do it once in a blue, right? So you mentioned Borderlands, top 3 video games.
Oh man, that's so hard. I mean, World of Warcraft is like number one right up there because I spent so many years of my life playing that. And I mean, I'm pretty old school guy, so I play a lot of old games like World of Warcraft's up there. I love like Final Fantasy VII. That's like one of my top games of all time. Um, and I don't even know. Like recently, I've been playing a lot of like I haven't been playing anything to be honest because I've been like so deep in the film. But when I was playing stuff, it would be like like trying to like play Diablo 3, trying to like kind of get back into the groove for Diablo 4. I know
Sir, you need
everybody's
to play
playing Diablo
Diablo
4 right
4.
now.
You
I
need to play
know.
Diablo. You need like I need you just like I understand our movie's important, but like I need you to play Diablo 4. Okay, like I need that to happen before we have our next behind the scenes call. I need you to play Diablo 4. Like that's the commitment I actually need from you from this space. That's what's really
Everybody's been
important.
telling me. Literally everyone has been in my DMs saying like, "Yo, you gotta play Diablo 4, man." So like my co-director HK, he's got it. He's playing it. One of our animators on the production is playing it, and I feel like now that we're finally like wrapped up on the film, on the pilot at least, I have like a small window where I get to jump in and start playing. But yeah, I guess those would be my top three. Kind of cheesy, but yeah, I'll let you get back to the other
Nah,
ones.
you're good. You're good. Yeah, everybody's been talking about Diablo. It's looking good out there. Top 5 movies.
Oh man, that's like these are hard questions by the way. For someone like me who's a movie buff, it's like picking top five is just crazy. I think Lord of the Rings, the whole trilogy, just like number one for me because that's kind of why I got into film. It's why I got into film in the first place, and I think I have to give a shout out to Pixar with Up. That's kind of a huge inspiration for animation for me. And I don't know, it'd have to be something like the third one would have to be like a Scorsese film or something like that, like Goodfellas or something, There's so many, I can't
I
pick.
actually
It's
like
too
it
hard.
that that you're having trouble picking favorites because it shows how like much you love the industry. And sometimes those favorites can change like based on your mood. You know what I mean? And like when you go back and watch a film, sometimes it's actually completely different, or you get more bullish on it. Is Up getting a remake coming out or a sequel? I heard. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I mean, I haven't kept my ears to the ground with what Pixar's doing lately, but I I mean, I would love to see more in that universe. I mean, I think there's still stories to be told there. And they've done like Pixar more than anybody else I trust with sequels. Since they did so good of a job with like Toy Story sequels. I feel like they really know how to make a good, enjoyable sequel that doesn't ruin the original films. So I mean, if they come out with one, I'll be the first to buy a ticket.
I love it that you mentioned Lord of the Rings because like I must like every week be like, "You shall not pass." I love that scene so much. God. Um, Real quick question, and then I want to give you second to last word. Don't worry, we're not rushing out of here. We can drag on 3 more minutes, right? Um, I come down to Melbourne. Say I haven't been there before. What are we doing? Where are you taking me? Where are we gonna go do? What are we
Oh
gonna go
man,
see?
I love that question. This is a good question. Like, there's so much to do down in Melbourne. By the way, it's like one of my favorite cities. If you're really into like, if you're like into like bars, for example, I could take you to like all the best spots. There's so many hidden bars here in Melbourne. One of my favorite bars is called like Birdie. They do like these really interesting cocktails where it's like super out there. They would like ferment lettuce and distill it. They do all kinds of crazy things. Like yeah, like distilling lettuce is one. They distill like all these like food items. When you look at the menu for the cocktails, it looks like food. It literally just it's like lettuce, like apples, and it doesn't even sound like you're drinking a cocktail. Um, but yeah, like bars is definitely one of them. Another one is probably like cafes. If you love cafe food, if you love coffee, Melbourne's known as like the coffee capital of the world for good reason. We won like the best barista of like the world, I guess, like the world champion barista is from Melbourne currently. My partner, she's a barista, so yeah, I love coffee and I love cafes in Melbourne. We have great brunch, And yeah, just like art and stuff. Like there's a lot of art galleries, museums, and things like that. It's a really creative kind of scene, I guess you could call. And yeah, I mean, Melbourne's not like the other parts of Australia where you have like beaches and it's all like warm and stuff. It's really cold and it's like dark and it's like, you know, it's kind of gritty. There's like a lot of alleys and stuff. It's very like speakeasy. So it feels a lot less like the other parts of Australia, but that's why I love it.
I love it. You're giving me a reason to come back and visit. I don't think Jay's been to Australia. I think she went to New Zealand. I'm hoping I'm getting this right, or I'm going to get in the doghouse later, right? You gotta know everything about your spouse. I've said this, y'all. If you've been listening to this show for a long time, I've said this over and over again. There are no coincidences in Web3. And again, today, here's another point of why there are no coincidences in Web3. I asked today on my timeline, light or dark roast, Zen? Light or dark?
Ooh. I drink both, by the way. So full disclosure, like I'm not picking a side, but I think lately I've been enjoying light roast more. I do a lot of like filter coffee lately, so like pour overs and stuff like that. So I like light right now just for my own taste, but it'll change. I'm sure by next week I'll be drinking dark again. So
I
yeah,
love
it
that. I
changes every
found out
week.
that light is actually more caffeinated than dark. I didn't even know that. Like, it's
I did
always
not know
cool.
that
It's
either.
always cool to ask something on the Twitter timeline, like for real. Like you ask a question that you think you've had the answer to all of your life. Oh no, Twitter is going to show you 100 different more answers. All right, we're at the top of the show. I love it that everybody came in here today. I love it if you came visually to watch. We're trying to get y'all to get into the stream, but it's more on what you want to do. Like, because some people are still on Twitter Spaces in your phone. Me too. Hey, I'm still using Google when I could use ChatGPT. Zen, this has been such an incredible pleasure and time. Can you give us the second to the last word, and then I'll close this out as I usually do with our guest.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me on, first of all. You know, I feel like I haven't really been able to like talk to people like outside of production for so long. So it's nice to actually like chat with people who are like, you know, just like going about life and doing other cool things outside of, you know, what I've been doing. So I really appreciate it. It was like super fun chat. And yeah, if you guys stay tuned for, you know, the Nouns movie, the pilot's coming out in 5 days. We just want everybody to watch it and just enjoy. We ask nothing else other than to like just have a good time and enjoy everybody's hard work. Listen to the like watch it with sound because like some of the best music composed, in my opinion, that I've ever seen in any animated thing. So it's really awesome. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Zen, and thank you everybody that tuned in. I love it when we have these small, intimate spaces. Anaroth, Prez, thank you always, Prez, for streaming the CloneX spaces. He's got CloneX Radio on YouTube. He does an incredible job, literally from sun up to sundown. Check him out. Jonah, we appreciate you. You always got me up to date on what's going down. HKJ, thank you for coming in here today. Film3 Film, Omega K, we love you. Yo, and with that, tune in next week, same day, same time, Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, out here on the East Coast in New York, baby, with me, your host, Boo, and my amazing co-host, JPEG-J. We want to give a big shout out and get to Zinned Out for coming up today, telling us everything about the movie. Yo, in 5 days, we will definitely be watching that movie with our community. We appreciate that. We look forward to next week. We love you guys. And with that, have a good night. We gone. In Web3, it's actually now.